What's up guys, Johnny here, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about my 2.5 inch racing quad, the Micro Ripper by RC Crazed. Alright, so first off, why did I build a 2.5 inch quad? And it really all boils down to the fact that during the winter months up here in Michigan, there's been a lot of snow on the ground and I've been really eager to hit any sort of race I could. And in Detroit, we've been running a racing circuit inside of on a dirt track where we allow up to 2.5 inch quads. So therefore I figured having a 2.5 inch racer is gonna be the best results when racing around that track versus using something small like a 2 inch like the Hell Whoop that you may have seen me flying before. So anyway, I did a little bit of searching around. I wanted to figure out what's the best 2.5 inch quad that I could run. Now, very common was people actually running 3 inch size quads that could fly 3 inch props, but instead putting 2.5 inch blades on them. But the thing that I noticed is when I looked at those, just the overall footprint of those quads was quite a bit bigger than this one here. So for example, if you take a look at, let's say the Hyperlight Tooth Fairy, which was a common one I see people running 2.5 inch with, and just look at the footprint compared to this thing, it sticks out much further, and I really like the fact that I can get 2.5 inches and keep a pretty compact True X design here. All right, so for the stack, I'm actually running an F3 Magnum Mini by Emax. That's actually the exact same flight stack that you're seeing in the Emax Baby Hawk R these days that people are raving about. It's a really inexpensive part. I think it was about $46 for both the ESC and the flight controller. I think that's a really good deal. So far, it's been performing really well, and it keeps a pretty compact build. Now the way that sticks on this frame, it actually goes down at the bottom and goes up to this top where you have the canopy, and that's all I have in there until this canopy part. To me, this 3D printed TPU based canopy mount is actually the magic of the Micro Ripper frame. I think it goes together really well. I really like the way this piece is together. I can fit every other component right inside of this piece. So inside here we have the camera, which I'm running my Micro Sparrow, my Runcam Micro Sparrow, my absolute favorite camera right now. I really want it to be improved, but it's still the favorite of what's available to me. Now, the next thing is down here in the bottom, you can actually see I have a Nano 2 VTX, an AKK Nano 2 VTX. It fits perfectly at the bottom, still gives me access to the button to change the channels. The next thing here is on the back, I've slid in an R-XSR receiver that I can combine to my Tyrannus. The receiver, the video transmitter, and the camera all live inside this small canopy. It makes for a really nice, clean build. It really keeps it nice and neat. I'm really impressed with this little canopy. They did a good job on this piece here. Now for the motors, I'm using the Emax RS1106 4500 kV. I do think the 4500 kV may have been a little bit of a mistake for me, but here's where I was thinking at the time. I wanted to fly this thing majority on 3 and 4S, especially on 4S. I wanted this thing to scream on 4S and just be an absolute blast to fly. So I figured choosing 6000 kV, which is the next kV up, would probably be too much for running 4S. Therefore, 4500 kV would probably be the perfect sweet spot for me if I really optimize this for 4S flight. However, it turns out a lot of races, they want to limit you to just 2S packs, and 2S on this thing, it just has no guts whatsoever. Racing around a course, you know, as long as you can keep good lines, you can keep a reasonable amount of time, but you just try to do like split S maneuvers, you give it full throttle and it just barely is climbing. It's really not made for 2S with these motors. I am thinking about switching over to the 6000 kV version, and then 2S should perform a lot better, but I'm not quite sold on that yet. But anyway, that's the only thing that I wonder about with this particular build. If you're looking to do a similar build, I'd probably switch over to the 6000 kV and run those instead of the 4500 kV. All right, so when I look at this frame, it's actually a really simple design. It's basically just a simple X design, keeps everything really small, and the magic is in this TPU printed canopy as I mentioned. Now, one thing did catch me off guard with this thing when I was putting it together, and that's that the holes on the canopy and on the frame are both M3 holes. Now, in my opinion, I feel like things that run 20mm by 20mm stacks should really be M2 these days. And that really bummed me out when I bought it because I even noticed on the website, it recommended certain M2 size components to go with this frame. So I thought it was gonna be M2 size holes. When I got it and I tried to mount, I noticed it did not fit. It was not quite right, and I was kind of bummed out. But luckily, one of the local pilots here had a really great idea on how I could adjust and fit for this. And basically what he recommended was buy PTFE tubing, the same sorts of things that you see with 3D printers. And you can buy it in a size of a 2mm in and a 3mm outside diameter. So basically what you're doing then is if you put those inside of M3 holes, the inner hole is now an M2 size hole. So inside of all the holes on the frame, inside the holes on the canopy here, I actually added small bits of PTFE tubing and then ran the screws through there. And so far this thing's been working great. So it's not loose on there, it performs really well. I've crashed the living heck out of this thing inside of that racing arena. I've crashed it outside, and so far it's really held up. It has not been too weak. It hasn't moved around. It's been a really, really good performer. So anyway, how does this thing perform? How does it fly? How do I enjoy it? And let me just tell you, it's a blast. I've really enjoyed that racing series in the winter. Really enjoyed putting on a track and racing 2.5 inch. It really is so close to being a 3-inch size racer, yet it's so much smaller of a size. It really just takes that 3-inch, it makes it a little bit more compact, and I'm able to fly in different areas. It's not quite as fast as a 3-inch, so you'll notice that I did some racing on my standard test track that I've been testing things on lately, and I put this thing up against my latest 3-inch Doberman Pup build, and the Doberman Pup was pulling 8.3 second laps. Well, this thing, running 4S, was putting up 8.7 second laps. And the thing is, it's so small, it felt like I was taking a pencil and just throwing it down the hallway. There's just lots of room through those 5-foot gates. It performed great flying through there. Really maneuverable, turns no problem. Still has plenty get up and go to almost compete with a 3-inch racer. And given that I was almost competing with 5 inches on the 3-inch, that really is incredible that this thing here can practically keep up with a 5-inch racer around a lot of courses, at least more technical style courses. All right, but what about freestyle with this thing? One of the things I really, really like about having my hell whoop, my 2-inch quad, is you're able to go out in the backyard, a place that's a little bit tighter, not enough room for a 5-inch, and still be able to enjoy it and have a lot of fun. The way this thing flies, especially with a 4S pack, but also a 3S pack, it's extremely maneuverable, it's extremely powerful, and I can do a lot of the same acrobatic maneuvers that I can do with my 5-inch, but in a more compact space. I have a lot of fun ripping this thing around in the backyard, ripping around the front yard, doing inverted maneuvers, doing power loops, doing inverted yaw spins, just all the same sort of tricks you'd want to do with a 5-inch, but yet in this tiny little compact package. And really, I just wanted to share that with you because it's been a lot of fun. I love racing it indoors. I love racing at local tracks. I've noticed I've seen people racing these things against 5 inches on more technical tracks and doing really, really well. So I will say one thing that this actually makes me wonder about is, will this be the future of racing quads? Some people think it's the X style quad, the 1 meter long quad. Some people think it's something more compact. It's really interesting. It just stays so maneuverable. It's almost as fast. It's a whole lot of fun to fly, and I'm really having a blast with this thing. And I just wanted to share that with you guys, let you know about this thing I've been flying. If you actually saw my video comparing different size quads and how they flew, this was the 2.5 inch that you saw in that video. I've been flying it for about 3 months, getting a whole lot of use out of it, a whole lot of fun. Highly recommend it. Again, the only thing I might change if you decide to build one is the 6,000 kV instead of the 4,500 kV. But if you plan to only run 4S, I think this is the perfect package. But yeah, that's about it. I've been having a blast with this thing. Wanted to share it with you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this too. And as always, I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.